Good morning. Welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church's in-person and online worship. Whether today is your first time here or you've been coming for years, we're so glad you're with us. My name is Erica Bartlett. My pronouns are she and hers, and I'm the chair of the worship committee. We are a growing community that transforms lives through the power of love. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for the earth. Welcome also to those who are joining us on Zoom. If you're attending for the first time, please go to our website and fill out the welcome card so we can know more about you. This morning's service about what we're doing right is presented by Allen Avenue's Worship Committee. Lay-led worship is a tradition at this and many other Unitarian Universalist societies. Here at Allen Avenue, the Worship Committee either sponsors or presents one such service a month. On most other Sundays, services are led by our minister, the Reverend Tara Humphreys. And we have two special announcements today from David and Carol.
Good morning. At the end of our third week of the pledge drive, we have 52 pledges in hand for $125,294. And that is 58% of our target of $215,000 for pledges. We have about maybe more than 60 members and friends who are on Breeze who have not yet pledged. And so this is a great opportunity in the fourth week of the campaign to get those pledges in. You can pledge either online or on a paper piece of paper, paper copy. All we need is your name, whether the pledge is for you alone or for a couple, and the amount of the pledge by month or annual total. If you have questions, call members of the Stewardship Committee or our treasurer, Peter Reed. There will be a final pledge drive cottage meeting in rooms 7 and 9 at the church today, beginning at 12 noon after the service. For Zoom, use the Zoom address in the Breeze events calendar. So there'll be a, for today's date, if you can access the Breeze calendar. That's it. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Carol Hayden, and I'm here to talk about the Ferry Beach Retreat. You'll find in the order of service an explanation of what you can do to sign up for it, and I want people on Zoom to know that they can contact me at 854-2112. That's my phone number, and I'll repeat that later if they wish. I'd like to talk about the retreat, and I'd like to know how many people here have been to a Ferry Beach retreat. Would you raise your hands? Wow, that's wonderful. Now, who hasn't been to the retreat? All right, those are the people I especially need to talk to right now. This announcement's especially for you. Our annual retreat is on the first weekend in May. That's the 5th through 7th. And we want you to come for the whole weekend or to commute on Saturday. It takes place at the Ferry Beach Conference Center campus in Saco, which has a beautiful sandy beach, a lovely pine grove, and it's just a half-hour drive south of Portland, so it's not far away. We retreat with the folks from the Auburn and Norway churches, and many of us through the years have gained many, many friends from doing this with them. Why would you want to go? Here are a sample of some of the activities. We have a campfire gathering with s'mores, so that's a big treat. A variety show in which you are welcome to perform if you wish to, but you don't certainly have to. A Sunday morning worship service. Walks on a beautiful sandy beach. rocking on a porch with your book or a new or an old friend, music making and singing. There's a very kid-friendly playground area. You'll have delicious, healthy meals, and you're even welcome to provide a mini workshop or craft activity if you wish to. Certainly not required, but if you wish to, then you could let me know. How much is this going to cost you? Well, that depends. It depends upon the lodging you choose if you stay overnight, your meal choice, especially with the age of children, because there's a variety there. And it also, you might choose to commute just on Saturday, at which you will be charged $40 for lunch and dinner and a little additional cost for the ferry beach. So either way you choose, you have to contact Ferry Beach, and you have to do it before April 20th. We have also, very important, funds in our Ferry Beach account to help you if you're concerned about whether you can afford to attend. We want you there. If you wish to apply for financial support, contact me and I will arrange for that, so don't forget to do that if you need it. Whether you have registered or not, we ask you to come to the table in the foyer after the service to pick up an information sheet. And also, those of you on Zoom, again, you should contact me at 854-2112. I would like to have even those who plan to attend, whether they've registered or not, to check out at the booth at the table at the foyer so that we'll have an idea of who's coming. There are several of us who are on the planning committee from the three churches. Those who are from this church are Connie Cross, Patricia Ellen. Is Patricia here? Patricia's somewhere here. Kathy Nato's here. Kathy's here. Betsy Jo Whitcomb and myself. So we look forward to seeing you at Ferry Beach and at the foyer after the service. Thank you.
I also invite you, if you haven't already, to take this opportunity to shut off your cell phones so that we can be fully present with one another. After the service, please grab a cup of coffee in the kitchen window and stay for conversation. We encourage you to find somebody you haven't met and introduce yourself. And those on Zoom can stay on and connect with each other there. And now let us center our hearts and minds with the ringing of the bell.
7 seconds, Zeke.
That was just beautiful, as usual. My name is Sandra Sherman. My journey with A2U2 began in 2019. While driving, I saw the sign, pulled into the parking lot, where before me stretched the most beautiful, peaceful grounds and a humble building of natural materials integrated into the landscape in which it stood, a visual delight. Being a student of architecture and in love with the outdoors, I was intrigued. What was this place? Online research piqued my curiosity when I read about Unitarian Universalism. I'd never heard of this, and somehow all I was reading and what I had just seen sang to my soul. Having been raised in the church, I, like many others, became disenchanted with hypocritical behaviors when maturing during my late teen years. For several decades, I casually visited different congregations and found what appealed most was a gathering of a Quaker meeting, although all 12 tribes seemed to have it right when considering them all together as a group. All had different ways in which to express gratitude for that which is greater than we are. I attended a service which was lay-led, just as today, with beautiful music. Here are a number of artists sharing their spontaneous take around a chosen subject. This place was truly magical, and all were welcome. A month later, I attended a second service, and the hook was in me. I signed up for classes to learn more and became a member immediately. Then COVID hit. Working from home, the computer screen and internet became our lifeline, our only connection with the outside world, forcing those of us who are not at all tech savvy to survive or die using this unfamiliar technology. And now, having lived in Florida for nearly 2 years, I am grateful for the opportunity to maintain a virtual connection with this community that I discovered briefly nearly 4 years ago. It gets better all the time. Thank you.
Can you have the text, please? Okay, excuse me.
Good morning. This morning's chalice lighting words are from Odette Fulbright Folsom. This light we kindle is set in the lamp of our history. We inherit this free faith from the brave and gentle, fierce and outspoken hearts and minds that have come before us. Let us be worthy inheritors of this faith, and through our good works, pass it boldly to a new generation. This is a congregation that gathers in faith, not faith in one religion or one God or any one way. We gather in faith of the power of diversity, the power of love, and the hope of a world transformed by our care. We gather in faith in ourselves and in those around us, not a faith that requires perfection or rightness in one another. Rather, a faith that in our shared imperfection, we may learn to stumble and fall together. Faith that we will help one another to rise and to try again and again. We are Unitarian Universalists. Please stand as you are willing and able and join in singing There Is More Love Somewhere, number 95 in your gray hymn book.
Susie, and this is the time for all ages. And I'm going to talk about myself. Sometimes I do things that I'm not all that happy about. Sometimes I feel kind of mad at myself when it happens. Like if I knock something over or spill something. Or I might say something to a friend that sounds really stupid or hurts their feelings. Or maybe I'm going somewhere and I don't follow directions. Maybe I take a wrong turn and make myself late to meet someone. But I try to remember that there are helpful things I can do when I make a mistake. I try to fix the problem, and I clean up the spilled coffee. I say I'm sorry to my friend, if needed. If I'm late, I say I'm sorry, and the next time I look more carefully at the directions. I also try to remember the things I like about myself, the things I think I'm doing well. For instance, I'm nice to my cats, and I take loving care of them. I care about other people, and I try to be kind. I grow beautiful flowers in my garden, and I try to make it a friendly place for other living beings, like birds, butterflies, and bees. If I do my best to fix my mistakes, and if I remember to look at the things I like about myself, I can see that although I'm not perfect, I'm still a good person, and so are all of us. And I'd like to invite Sonia up.
Thank you for the lesson, Susie. My name is Sonia Tonelli. Emily, the DRE, is away today, so Polly Juno and I have the great pleasure of spending time with our young people this morning. And in a few minutes, many of us will leave the sanctuary to enjoy religious education programming. Right now, I invite the lamplighter to come up. Today, that is going to be Dalav. A lamplighter is entrusted to transfer the light of the sanctuary chalice to the lamp, and then go forth to the RE spaces where Dalav will light the chalices there. This way. So I invite all our young people to follow us now, follow the lamplighter to the RE rooms.
Good morning. I'm Rick Kimball, a member of the Worship Committee, here to introduce today's service, even though it's well along. Some of us UUs are navel gazers, peering within to see what's what with us, and sometimes, just sometimes, finding fault. Here's a little list I've collected over time of negatives people have ascribed to us. We are too homogeneous, they say, racist, fearful of change, individualistic, privileged, paternalistic, Emersonian, categorical thinking, anti-authoritarian, self-satisfied, political, and sexist. Well, we on the worship committee might debate some of those descriptors, and we might accept others. We do welcome the chance that self-criticism gives us to polish and perfect our acts. We want to glow in the dark just the way chalices do. But that said, today we are going to ignore the whole list of perceived problems and instead offer a balancing batch of positives, of things we do well. Time will allow us to focus on just a few of the many possibilities, and this limitation is good. We need to avoid swollen egos. Smugness is a sin. But I can say that one thing we, the denomination, and we, the congregation, do well is making music. Come on up, choir, and let's demonstrate.
Good morning, I'm Anna Noyes-Benoit, and as you've heard this week, the worship committee is looking at what's going right. I feel like the church is doing so many things right. Members and friends are involved with worship planning, social justice, pastoral care, fellowship, music and choir, and outreach. And it feels to me that people want to be involved. Sharing joys and sorrows is an important part of Sunday services and is something that I feel is going especially well. During the service each Sunday, people have an opportunity and are invited to light a candle if they wish, verbally share their joys or concerns, and mark milestones or to acknowledge a loss. At the same time, there's someone from the Pastoral Care Committee who is recording and will pass this along to the committee and that week's responder who will follow up. Folks who have ongoing issues like chronic illness or a recent death of an immediate family member are held in the light by the committee members. My daughter died nearly a year ago, and I've been supported by the committee, receiving calls and cards throughout the year. I can tell you that personally this has meant a great deal to me and my spouse and has helped us to handle our grief and loss. This church is blessed to have so many caring and capable people on the pastoral care team, and that includes our minister, Tara Humphreys. We share our joys and sorrows to affirm that each person matters, and in that sharing, the individual feels heard and their burden lightened or the joy spread. We light a candle not because it has supernatural power, but because there is power in sharing together during these special moments. Therefore, in our joy and sorrow, we do not walk alone.
My name is Erica Bartlett, and one of the things that's always made me proud of Unitarian Universalists is that we provide a welcoming place for the LGBTQ plus community, something I've been thinking about a lot lately since that community has come under increasing attack. When I was growing up, the main thing I remember learning in school about LGBTQ plus people was the impact of the AIDS epidemic on gay men and hearing about the AIDS quilt. But I certainly don't remember anyone in my high school coming out as lesbian or gay. If they had, I suspect it wouldn't have gone over very well in early 1990s in small-town Maine. Here at church, though, things were different. I met all kinds of people, including those who identified as lesbian and gay, and they were welcomed warmly and treated the same as anyone else. It helped me really internalize the message that we all have inherent worth and dignity. So perhaps it's not surprising that when I later found out that someone from my middle school was a lesbian, it was at a church event. And in 2003, A2U2 became a welcoming congregation, a designation that signifies support of the LGBTQ plus community. That support has always been important, but it's more vital now than ever. You don't have to look hard to see that last year was a bad one for LGBTQ plus people, especially trans people and trans youth. Across the country, a record 315 anti-LGBTQ plus bills were introduced by state legislators. And this year isn't looking much better so far. Thankfully, only 29 of those bills last year became law, but that's 29 too many. And as Fran Hutchins, executive director of the Equality Federation Institute, pointed out, quote, "We know the introduction and mere discussion of these bills further fuels anti-LGBTQ plus stigma nationwide, resulting in violence against our community," end quote. All of this is having a tragic effect. According to a poll conducted by GLAAD in 2022, 72% of transgender respondents and 48% of the LGBTQ plus community overall reported that the current political environment makes them fear for their personal safety. And when the Trevor Project did a survey last year on LGBTQ plus youth mental health, they found that 45% of those youth seriously attempted considering suicide last year. This paints a grim picture, but there is a bit of good news. Last year, 24 bills also became law that increased equality, covering a range of issues such as making it easier for trans people to update their driver's licenses and expanding non-discrimination protections in education, employment, and housing. UUs are also finding ways to help LGBTQ plus people feel welcomed and affirmed. As you may know, some of our youth recently went through the Our Whole Lives, or OWL program, which is a sexuality program that's inclusive of gender and sexual diversity. I also remember in 2019 that when I was co-leading the junior youth group, one Sunday fell on March 31st, which is the Transgender Day of Visibility. So we made that our focus for the day. And you'll also find in your insert this morning a notice about an event happening the end of this week for the Transgender Day of Visibility. The recent Side with Love campaign included a focus on LGBTQIA+ and gender justice, with the reminder that all bodies are sacred. UUs also partner with others to support justice work, including UU state action networks like MUSAN, Interweave, the Human Rights Campaign, and the American Civil Liberties Union. And our own Reverend Tara recently wrote a letter to the editor in the Portland Press Herald, reminding everyone that, quote, "People of all gender identities and expressions are holy, whole, and loved just as they are," end quote. And we shouldn't stop there. We should keep talking about issues that impact the LGBTQ plus community, recognize important days of observance, and do as much as we can to support our LGBTQ plus members, ministers, and staff. We can also work collectively or individually to support welcoming projects, as we did last month when our Share the Plate recipient was Out Maine, which helps create welcoming and affirming communities for LGBTQ plus youth. That support matters and can save lives. The Trevor Project reported that LGBTQ plus youth who live in a community that is accepting of them reported significantly lower rates of attempting suicide than those who did not. Everyone deserves a place to feel safe and welcome, and I hope that we can continue working to provide that for the LGBTQ+ community.
We're a freely gathered, open, and welcoming faith community supported by your contributions. Each week, 1/3 of our offering is given away to nonprofit organization whose mission aligns with our Unitarian Universalist principles. This month's Share the Plate recipient is the Maine Association of New Mainers, an immigrant-led organization that promotes the social and personal empowerment of immigrants living in Maine. You can find more information in your order of service. Donations can be made now as the basket is passed through the donate button on our website, or if you're a member, on Breeze. If giving through Breeze, please note if the donation is your pledge or a gift to our Share the Plate. You may also mail a check directly to the church. If you're visiting for the first time, please know that your presence is your gift to us. At this time, our offering will be collected and gratefully received. name's Mike Luce. I'm a member of the worship committee. Title of this piece is Still Working on It. So as one of the resident semi-professional skeptics, some people might say cynics around here, a topic that asks, what are we doing right, presented a nice challenge for me. It isn't that I don't think we're doing a lot of things right, it's just that my mother brought me up with a distinct discomfort for patting oneself on the back. Both of my parents, really. I remember the very first time I heard my mother swear. It was about somebody in the news. I no idea who. I was pretty young, but she delivered it with a beautiful snort. Well, he thinks his doesn't stink. That instinct stayed with me. And now here I am, talking about what we do right and not even fidgeting. Too much. So what are we doing right? I could go on about all the causes this church, both locally and nationally, support. What amazes me personally is when I turn on my skeptical radar, not one of them blips. Well, sure, I could cap a little bit about details, but the thing about this church, which I've rarely experienced elsewhere, is that everyone here seems to be here for the right reasons. Maybe not all the same, but right. Maybe not all the same, but right. That's what the church writ large is doing right. We come together with our myriad gifts and insights and questions and make room for each other in this UU stew. Like the stone soup story that gets referenced here periodically, this church grows and changes with whatever the people put into it. That's what's most right about this church for me. Right isn't a static given truth. Last time I was up here, I ended with a bumper sticker quote that the late Charlie Peck loved. Don't believe everything you think. It seems appropriate here, too. It's our mojo as we evolve. What we're doing right is questioning our answers.
Good morning. I am Keith Prairie, and my piece is Bits and Bytes. Now, Bits and Bytes, this is not about finger food. Bits and bytes are the ones and zeros that help us communicate across vast distances and make a lot of things possible. Many things have been pulling and pushing at us since this virus thing first started. And of course, there's divisive politics involved. Many places have been strained by that. But let's look at the church here and what we're doing well. What are we doing well? Well, I know that the virus has made my family connect. There are a few things that have improved. Although we have limited visits and travel during the virus, I and my family had a consistent time when we could connect through Zoom and chat and share and talk about stories and feelings. My family was able to reach out and connect my dad and his brother before Melt's death almost 2 years ago. And through this reaching out, we've connected with 2 cousins who were fairly distant. I don't know if this would have been possible had it not been for the virus. Closer to home, in our church, the pandemic has forced us to rethink how we connect. Initially, we moved to Zoom and were able to have regular services from our studies, offices, and kitchen tables. Remember those first services with just 3 or 4 live souls in the sanctuary, sending out the electrons to help us gather and connect. How we evolved to putting together a weekly video with some parts live and some pre-recorded, and those masterful compilations where 2 or 10 or 200 musicians and singers were able to create magnificence from separate tracks, bits and bytes. For a time, we moved into an amalgam, mix of live and recorded, and now, as we go back to worshiping together, mostly live and in person, we have options to add sharing from those who can't make it in person. Friends and family far away. I've had the satisfaction of sharing some of our services with my family down in Asheville, sitting in Dad's living room and making sure the closed captions are on so Dad can understand what's going on. I often see my dad and sister in the Zoom window of our services. They don't usually stay for the chats because Asheville's church meets at 11 and they like to catch both services. And in a more sedate area, I've been honored to participate in planning memorial services for my mom and my uncle, who both passed away in 2011. To be sure, the electronics are complex and sometimes exasperating. I'd like to acknowledge the tech team back there as they struggle with all these things. Putting together a worship service now involves a bigger team, more planning and organization, behind the scenes communication, and experimenting, and creativity. It's simply amazing we have accomplished all we have done. I don't think without the stress of the pandemic, we would have risen to the occasion. We wouldn't have seen need for these adaptions. So blessed bits and blessed bytes. Amen.
It's getting a bit late. Does that mean that I will cut my reflection short? No, it does not. I was thinking early on, and earlier in this service, that I should have written an essay about how we practice informality so very, very well. That is one of our strengths. But instead I wrote this called Excellent Us. Unitarian Universalists rely on many different sources for wisdom and information. One of the very best is Humpty Dumpty, as encountered by Alice in Through the Looking Glass. We'd need to scramble hard to find anything better. When I use the word Humpty Dumpty, told Alice, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less. Well, now, was a you or a you of our two-part past listening in? We have been adapting words to our own use for decades. We do this really, really well. Consider religion. Here's the first definition that pops up on the internet when you ask. Religion is the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods. Well, that's not what most of us use that word to mean. 19th century Unitarian minister Theodore Parker said, "Our religion should be like sunshine going everywhere, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love." For many contemporary UUs, our religion is a search, a mystery with chalice wicks that twist themselves into little question marks when flaming. Then there's God. We are familiar with traditional images of an almighty male God, creator of all. But some UUs think creation went in the opposite direction. The late UU minister Forrest Church said that God is not God's name. It's our name for that which is greater than all and yet present in each. It's our construct. It's our symbol. Well, so there, God. Today, many in our denomination are adapting the word beloved, using it not just in the Martin Luther King sense of beloved community, but as a term of acceptance and respect for ourselves. Now, various thesauri list the synonyms of beloved as darling, sweetheart, and lover. But now we sometimes call all of us each other beloved. We've heard it from this microphone, even though we know that somebody among us parked across two spaces, forcing others to walk a long way to get here in the rain. And another of us picks all the cashews from the mixed nuts offered at every potluck dinner. Now, Humpty Dumpty would have loved our definitional gymnastics. He could have been a great UU, using whatever words he liked to mean whatever he wanted. He perhaps would have wished to be a beloved himself so that nobody would let him fall off his wall. Well, I like the Humpty Dumpty approach, using it as one of the things that we as a denomination do really, really well. Moving away from the meaning of traditional religious language is good for us as a church, because doing so can help us attract the unchurched, the people we want to join us so that we and they can grow together, using whatever words we like with whatever meanings we choose. That's the essence of this place, not glued to the rituals and creeds and language or ornamentation of others, but freely searching together and finding whatever truths we can accept of everything from our own quotidian lives to the cosmic mystery that envelops us. This is our strength. This is what we do right. This is how we enrich ourselves in the universe. This is how we grow. I'm reminded of Tyrrell's father's visit to this church. A disengaged high Episcopalian, he had become concerned at hearing of our involvement in any church at all. So he came to see what it was about. His conclusion after sitting through a service, "This is not a church," he said. "I don't know what it is, but it's not a church." Well, he was wrong, as he so seldom was about anything. Humpty Dumpty would have understood. A2U2 is a church we get to construct and define ourselves. And that, my friends, my beloveds, is something we have done and will continue to do very well. And by the way, if we call ourselves the Humpty Dumpty Church, I'll bet we'd be bursting at the seams. Now let us sing. You know the story. Dale will play it through once, and then we each will stand up whenever we like in our informal, individualistic way, and then we will sing. It's number...
Closing words. We come to this time and this place by David C. Pohl. We come to this time and this place to rediscover the wondrous gift of free religious community, to renew the faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and full heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to rekindle the vision of the earth, of an earth made fair with all her people one.